Yours is a Yours is
It doesn't have transliteration in it.
How come it's so big then? Why is it so big?
Why is it? Because it's the exact same book. It just doesn't have transliteration in it.
Oh.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We're so glad you're joining us in person and online. We're trying something slightly different this evening. So, cantorial soloist Hillary from Battle Creek is joining us virtually on our screens. So we appreciate everybody's patience if the technology decides to do something wonky with our first attempt. But we are so glad to welcome you, and we are going to begin together in song on 128.
Please join me, everyone, with Hine Matov. Hine Matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. We continue our warming up and with song as we continue with Ki Eshmerah Shabbat, found on page 634, or also found on the first page of your handout. Or I'm going to guess it's on the screen in front of you that I can't see. And I'm going to have Rabbi unmute the TBI feed because I can't hear you guys.
Oh.
There we
I was
go.
just sharing 129. It's also on page 129.
Brilliant. Thank you. I couldn't hear anything. All right, here we go. Ki Eshmerah Shabbat. Please join me. Ki Eshmerah Shabbat. El yishmereni, ki eshmerah Shabbat. El yishmereni, od hi le'om eyad, beino uveini. Od hi le'om eyad, beino uveini. Ki eshmerah Shabbat, el yishmereni. Ki eshmerah Shabbat, el yishmereni. Od hi le'om eyad, beino uveini. Od hi le'om eyad, beino uveini.
Are we skipping Hine Matov? All right. We're going to continue together. We're going to turn back to 120 as we light our Shabbat candles. If you would, please join me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Amen. We're going to continue now on page 136 with Mizmor LeDavid. Mizmor LeDavid. Havu l'Adonai b'nei Elim, havu l'Adonai kavod va'oz, havu l'Adonai kavod shemo, ishtachavu l'Adonai b'hadrat kodesh, קול אדוני על המים, אל הכבוד הרים, אדוני על מים רבים. קול אדוני בכוח, קול אדוני בהדר, קול אדוני שובר ארזים, ישבר אדוני את ארזי הלבנון, וירקידם כמו עגל לבנון וציריון, כמו בן רמים. קול אדוני יוצא על הקודש, קול אדוני יכיל מדבר, יכיל אדוני מדבר קדש, קול אדוני יכלה ילוד, ויחצוף יערוד, ובחילו כולו, כולו מרכבוד. אדוני למבוא יושב, וישב אדוני מלך לעולם, אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו ושלום.
We continue with Lechado D, found on page 138 and 139. As is our tradition, we will sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, and you are invited to rise in body or spirit to welcome the Sabbath bride when we reach verse 9. Please join me. Lechado di likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamor vezachor b'dibor echad, Hishmi anu elcha miuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, L'shemo tiferet velid hilah. Lechado di likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechado di likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu vel nilcha, Ki mekor habracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof maase b'maksheva tigla. Lechado di likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechado di likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hit oreri, Kiva orech kumi uri, shir daberi, kevod Adonai alayik nigla. Lechado di likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechado di likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Ohi v'shalom ateret bala, Gam besimcha ub'tzola, Toch emunei am segula, Bo'ichala. Lechado di likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechado di likrat kala, Pene Shabbat nekabela. We continue to welcome in Shabbat with Mizmor Shir, found on page 140. Please join me. Mizmor Shir leyom haShabbat, tov lehodot l'Adonai, uletzamer lishimcha elyon, uletzamer lishimcha elyon. Mizmor Shir leyom haShabbat, tov lehodot l'Adonai, uletzamer lishimcha elyon, uletzamer lishimcha elyon. Lehagid babocher chastecha, ve'emunarcha belelot, alei asor ve'alei nevel, alei higayon bechinot. Mizmor Shir leyom haShabbat, tov lehodot l'Adonai, uletzamer lishimcha elyon, uletzamer lishimcha elyon. Ki samaktani Adonai befo'olecha, b'maaseh yadecha arenin, ma gadlu ma'asecha Adonai, me'od amkul makshavotecha. Mizmor Shir leyom haShabbat, tov lehodot l'Adonai, uletzamer lishimcha elyon, uletzamer lishimcha elyon.
Continue on page 144 as we conclude Kabbalat Shabbat, taking a deep breath, letting go of all of our worries from the week, all those things we have to do, and taking another deep breath, breathing in Shabbat as we conclude, and then move directly into Shabbat prayers. Yitkadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'amar divrach chirotei v'yamlich malchutei.
V'chayechon u'vyomechon
u'chayecho Beit Yisrael. Bahagala, bahagala, u'vizman kariv v'meru.
Amen.
Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach, le'olam le'omei olmaya.
Yitbarach.
Yitbarach v'yishavach v'yipa'ar v'yitroman v'yinaseh, v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei kedusha.
Brechu.
Le'elam mikol bechata v'shirata,
Tushbechata v'nechemata, Damiran be'alma.
v'yimeru.
Amen.
We rise in body or spirit as we continue with the call to worship, the Baruch Hu. Lai, lai,
140.
lai, 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 lai. Thank you for telling what page it's on, which should have been 146. Yai, la, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, la, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, la, lai, 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 lai. Baruch Hu et Adonai, HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai, HaMevorach, לעולם ועד. המבורך, המבורך, לעולם ועד.
Accustomed to sit at this point, please do so. We continue on page 148 in the English together. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alerts the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are a creator of day and night, rolling light away from and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv Aravim. Continuing on page 150, Avat Olam Beit Yisrael, Amchavta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu, v'sochveinu v'kumeinu, nasiach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'v'mitzvotecha, le'olam v'hed. Ki hem hayenu ve'orech yaminu ve'orech yameinu uvehem nege yomam v'layla ve'avatcha tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Roshem kevod malchuto leolam vaed.
And for those of you who have remained standing, you may be seated. We continue on page 154. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושינתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך וביתך ולכתך בדרך ושבתך וקומך ושרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Continuing toward the bottom in the English. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God. Adonai Elohechem, amen.
We continue together on page 158 with Mi Chamocha.
Or we do. That's fine.
Yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai. Yai lai 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 ya la 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 lai lai. Ya lai la lai 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 la la lai. Yai la lai lai ya la 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 lai. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. יאי לי 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 לי, יאי לי 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 לי, יאי לי לי לי, יאי לי לי לי, יאי לי לי, yai la la. Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah
Adonai.
Al Yisrael. We continue on page 160 with Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, leshalom. Vehamidenu shomrenu lechayim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. 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 We continue together at the top of page 163. We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. We continue on page 162, so just back a little tiny bit, with Vishamru. Please join me. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Beni uvein b'nei Yisrael, od hi leolam, od hi leolam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, et ha-shamayim va'et haaretz. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi shavat ba'inafash, shavat ba'inafash, Shavad Bainafash Veshamru Bnei Israel Et HaShabbat Lasod Et HaShabbat Ledorotam Berit Olam.
So we're going to turn to page 164 as we prepare to rise in body or spirit for the Amidah. But I feel like I missed out on something in my welcome this evening, which is probably that everyone doesn't know everyone who's leading this evening. just a slight faux pas. I'm Rabbi Shicker here at Temple B'nai Israel, and this is Rabbi Estrin from the Congregation of Moses. And joining us on the screen is cantorial soloist Hillary Duberstein from Battle Creek, from Bethel in Battle Creek. People are waving at you, Hillary, even though you can't see them. So. We are so excited to be leading together. It's one of the things the pandemic took away from us, is our ability to go places. And we normally each have the opportunity of joining together at each of the congregations. So we do have plans to be at Congregation of Moses next. Date, I don't remember, and then in Battle Creek at Bethel. So we're thrilled to have you all with us this evening, in person and online. So we're going to rise in body or spirit on 164, and we will chant through page 170. Adonai sifatav tiftach ufi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor, V'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'Imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'Nehem, Leman Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer Mashiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah. Ata Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Ata Rav LaHoshia, Mashiv HaRuach, Umarid HaGashem, Mechokel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye Metim Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofeh Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Micha Mocha Bal Gevurot, Umido Melech, Melech Meimit Umechaye, Umatmiach Yeshua. V'ne'eman ata lechayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yalucha selah, Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. You may be seated. We continue together on the top of 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh haShabbat.
Amen.
So we're excited. You know, Rosh Chodesh just started, Rosh Chodesh Kislev. Hanukkah is going to happen in November again, everybody. In case you didn't realize, it's not very far away. We're on page 174 as we read together. Find favor, Adonai our God, with your people Israel, and accept their prayer in love. May the worship of your people Israel always be acceptable. God, who is near to all who call, turn lovingly to your servants. Pour out your Spirit upon us. Our God and God of our fathers and mothers, on this first day of the new month, be mindful of us and all your people Israel, for good, for love, for compassion, life, and peace. Remember us for well-being. Amen. Visit us with blessing. Amen. Help us to a fuller life. Amen. Let our eyes behold your loving return to Zion. Blessed are you, Adonai, whose presence returns to Zion. Baruch atah Adonai, hamachazir shechinato l'tzion. We continue in the middle of 177 together. When we behold your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and stars that you set in place, what are we humans that you are mindful of us? We mortals that you take note of us. You made us little less than divine, adorned us with glory and majesty. You gave us dominion over your handiwork, laying the world at our feet. How majestic is your name throughout the earth. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha u'lecha na'eh lehodot. We continue together with Shalom Rav, our prayer for peace, on 178.
Shalom Rav, Al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav, Al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Le'olam. Ki atah Melech Adon, Lechol HaShalom. Ki atah Melech Adon, Lechol HaShalom. Shalom Rav, Al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav, Al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Le'olam. V'tov be'enecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol ed u'bechol sha'a bishlomecha. Shalom Rav, Al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav, Al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Le'olam. Tasim Le'olam. Tasim Le'olam. Baruch atah Adonai, hamvarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. We continue on page 180 and 181 with a silent prayer. Yehu ratzon, imrefi, ve'yon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, ve'goali. Please join me, page 180. Yehiyu leratzon, imrefi, ve'higyon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, ve'goali,
Our thoughts turn to those in our family, in our hearts, in our community who are in need of healing of body, of mind, or of spirit. We turn to page 371. We ask those online to share names in the chat, and if you have names to share, please feel free to do so out loud.
Like to be thinking about my friend Arlene Millman this evening.
We add to these names Bob, Gail M., May, Dale, the Christie family, the Frank and Treva M. family, Janie, Al, Dennis, Raj, Jerry, Rena, Margot, Sally, and Dick. We join together in the middle of the page.
Misheberach avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Infertility, family feuds, loving spouses. Just a few of the topics that this week's Parsha Toldot covers. Our ancestors struggled a lot. And the book of Bereshit, the book of Genesis, covers many of these struggles. We read this week specifically about Isaac blessing his sons, Jacob and Esau, unknowingly giving the blessing which should have gone to the eldest Esau to the younger, Jacob. This blessing is not only the inheritance of the firstborn, but also the continuation of the covenant that Abraham made with God and passed to Isaac, himself the second-born son of Abraham. Rebecca, Isaac's wife, struggles for 20 years before she conceives the twins. Twins who she is told by God will be the leaders of 2 nations. It is her prophecy, which is noted by the rabbis of our tradition, that leads her to trick Isaac into blessing Jacob. She believes the prophecy she heard means that her second-born son is the heir to the covenant. Her struggle to conceive and her joy at the birth of her healthy twins is what I wish to focus on this evening. Our reproductive lives are complicated. Some of us find it easy, and some of us find it difficult or impossible. Some of us do not wish to be parents, and some of us wish every day to be successful, either through reproduction or adoption. Even with all the leaps and bounds of science, the struggle to conceive and carry to term is difficult. And in the United States, it is also quite dangerous, especially for pregnant people who are Black, Indigenous, or people of color. Adoption is expensive and complicated, as is IVF and other fertility treatments. It is therefore incredibly important that we work together as a larger community to make sure health care is available and affordable to all in this country. Health care relating to our reproductive lives takes a number of forms. It is tax-free menstrual products, which Michigan just signed into law, everybody. Woo! All right. Easy access cancer screenings, access to family planning materials like birth control and condoms, family doctors who offer prenatal, pregnancy, and postnatal care, doulas, midwives, and lactation consultants, providers who understand the needs of LGBTQ+ individuals and couples, and access to affordable and accessible abortions. Last week, the National Council of Jewish Women, the NCJW, launched the 73 Forward campaign. In their own words, we are creating a collective framework for Jewish action to increase on-the-ground access to abortion care. This means removing educational, financial, and legislative roadblocks for people experiencing pregnancy and creating meaningful opportunities for Jewish women and allies to join the movement. NCJW is working with a wide swath of partners to ensure we join an intersectional, intergenerational movement to keep those most affected front and center. 73 Forward is so named because Roe v. Wade was decided in 1973. With the Supreme Court hearing arguments relating to the Texas abortion law this week, and with the court set to hear arguments this session for Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health, the future of access to abortion health care is in danger. The current situation is already critical for those facing barriers to accessing health care. We know that the bulk of those bearing this are Black, Indigenous, and people of color, women, and those working to make ends meet. For these reasons, one of the first campaigns 73 Forward is working on is making access to medication abortion more accessible and more affordable. The other campaign 73 Forward is working on is the passage of the Women's Health Protection Act, or WIPA. The bill passed the House in September and now awaits Senate approval, where it has 48 senators co-sponsoring the legislation. WIPA would establish a statutory right for healthcare providers to provide and their patients to receive abortion care free from medically unnecessary restrictions, limitations, and bans that delay and at times completely obstruct access to abortion. The Department of Justice, as well as providers and individuals harmed by restrictions made unlawful under the Act, could go to court to enforce these rights. By passing federal legislation, we can protect the rights of all people to access abortion health care, regardless of how SCOTUS rules regarding the cases before them. Judaism both allows for and sometimes requires abortion. This is not a question of Reform, Conservative, or Orthodox. Judaism both allows for and sometimes requires abortion. Judaism teaches that the life of the pregnant person takes precedence over the life of the fetus. Jewish law does not consider a fetus to have the status of personhood. We learn this from the Torah, specifically Exodus 21, verses 22 through 23, which recounts the story of 2 men who are fighting and injure a pregnant woman, resulting in her subsequent miscarriage. The verse explains that if the only harm done is the miscarriage, then the perpetrator must pay a fine. However, if the pregnant person is gravely injured, the penalty shall be a life for a life, as in other homicides. The dominant rabbinical interpretation of this verse is that the men did not commit murder and that the fetus is not a person. It is treated as a situation that warrants the financial damages for injury, not restitution for homicide. The primary concern is the well-being of the person who was injured, in this case, the pregnant individual. As Jews, as people, we have personal experience with the struggles relating to reproduction. We know and are individuals who have been unable to conceive, and we know and are individuals who wish not to conceive. We must advocate for all those who are in need of health care, whether that is access to abortion or access to IVF or access to birth control. It is not our choice what others choose to do with their bodies, but it is our choice what to do with ours. As Jews and as family members of Jews, we have a responsibility to speak up about abortion access and abortion care, along with the need for accessible health care of all kinds. Our ancestors struggled with having children. They struggled with their reproductive health, and they are an example of why we speak up. Shabbat Shalom. We are going to continue on 586 and 588. 586 at the bottom, 588 at the top. For Aleinu, we rise in body or spirit.
Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latet gdula leotzer breshit, shelo asanu keharatzot, velo hasamanu k'mishpachot adama, shelo samrakenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu chorim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוצר ארץ ומושב יקרה בשמיים ממעל ושכינתו זו מגבה מרומים הוא אלוהינו אין עוד הם אלוקינו אפס זולתו ככתוב בתורתו וידעת היום השבות אל לבבך כי אדוני הוא אלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. We continue in English in the bottom. We therefore hope in you, Adonai our God. May we soon behold the glory of your might, sweeping away the false gods of the earth, that idolatry be utterly destroyed, perfecting the world under the rule of God, that all humanity invoke your name, turning all the wicked of the earth toward you. Turning the page.
Yeah, you're good.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו We continue on page 592. You may be seated as we reach the time where we remember those who are no longer with us, for those who are in mourning or observing yard sites. All rabbis have a collection of Sidurim in their office, basically anything we can get our hands on. And this happens to be one of my favorite poems that I stole from this Siddur. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die, And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. So we remember those who have yard sites this week. Arthur Cohen, Dorothy Fratis, Seymour Greenwald, Arthur Levy, Lottie Rapp, Maurice Rosenthal, Abigail Verne, Leslie Davis, Lily Greiner, Sam Harris, Alfred Nadelman, Beatrice Lee Rocklin, Beatrice Sichel, the Jews of Milevsko, Max Fisher, Isidore Goldstein, Susan Levine, Nomi Hudit Polatov, Sherman Rose, Lillian Sofin.
The following are the November yard sites for Temple Bethel. Leonard Arnoff, Dorothy Block, Barnett Goldberg, Rose Kaiser, Minnie Knapp, Rosamond LeWitt, Phyllis Blivis Maloche, Lila Salton, Lillian Starr, Elmer Wagner, and Adolph Wolfgang.
And for Temple B'nai Israel, Horan Sparko, Norbert Ernst, Alvin Paul Gaines, Martin Gall, Rose Gardner, Flora Goldfarb, Ernst Hartenstein, Jane Wise Hill, James B. Hill, Stuart Katz, Dorothy Ziering Kagan, Tilda Rittman King, Steve Klein, Richard Lankin, Alan Land, Shirley Layson, Daniel Levy, Michael Milner, Arthur William Persky, Robin Persky Kessler, Marvin Ratner, Annette Trayman Robb, Henry Rosenberg, Molly Satok, Rabbi Simon Shoup, Calvin Simon, Bernard Sisman, Ernst Jerome Weiss, and Charles J. Zeman.
If you have anyone to add, please feel free to put it in the chat, or if you would like to say the name out loud if you're here in person with us. We continue on page 589, those in mourning. 598, sorry, I transposed those numbers. Those in mourning and observing yard sites, we rise. Yit Gadal, Vit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah,
Ve'alma divrach hirute, ve'amlich malchute, v'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayi chol Beit Yisrael, b'gala v'zman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei dukudisha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Aseh shalom b'mamav Huyaseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say,
Amen. You may be seated. Are you doing the announcements first?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm first. Okay, announcements.
We got a lot of announcements, so bear with us.
Okay. Anybody who would like to come to services at COM tomorrow morning, we'll be there with Torah study with Yehuda Arigur after services. On Tuesday, Rabbi Schicker will be doing the second in a series of a history of women rabbis on Zoom and in person.
7 o'clock.
Next Saturday, For those of you who have children and are in the school, we're having a school-led Shabbat services here Saturday morning. And if you would like a little bit of prayer in the middle of the week, you can join me on Tuesday mornings, 8:30 on Zoom for 10 minutes. That's it, 10 minutes to start your day. That's it for me.
Short and sweet.
Yeah.
Short and sweet. Hillary?
All right, we're going to keep it super short. We have Torah study tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. if you would like to join me on Zoom. And then next weekend, as has been our habit since the pandemic began, we will have our Havdalah observance. We meet only twice a month, so we decided we missed each other on the off weeks. So we will be observing Havdalah. And of course, any of our fellow congregations from Temple B'nai Israel or Congregation of Moses, of course, are more than welcome to join us. Just reach out to me and I'm happy to give you the link. And I would like to personally thank my two colleagues for being so very flexible, pivoting yet again for all of these different moments that we have had. I appreciate very much Rabbi Shicker hosting this evening, and I really appreciate it. What some of you don't know is I may be actually leading the congregation at Battle Creek, but I actually live in Waterford, Michigan. I am currently sitting in Farmington Hills, Michigan. So we are trying to see how many places we can observe Shabbat this evening. So thank you both very much for letting us all come together like this. And I'm sure that Rabbi Shicker is probably going to mention it as well. But for those of you that would like to, the Temple Beth El congregation is going to be hosting the Oneg right afterwards. So join on Zoom. If you're watching the live stream, the link will be sent to you, I believe put into the chat. And you're welcome to just pop over and join us. And I believe, I'm not sure how we're going to do Kiddush and Motzi. Shall we do Kiddush and Motzi on Zoom, rabbis?
You can. I don't have Kiddush and Motzi here because we're not eating in the building currently.
I happen to have Kiddush and Motzi behind me. I think we'll be okay. So we'll figure it out afterwards, but thank you everybody for joining us and for letting us be so unique and multifaceted this evening.
We are very multifaceted this evening, and after I stop the live stream, I'm actually going to log the TV and computer into the Oneg, so if people want to say hi to the people who've been joining us online, you're welcome to. And I will drop the information into the chat as well for those who've misplaced the link. So a few announcements. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., there are services. Our Rosh Chodesh discussion group is at 11:30. We're in person and on Zoom. Link went out in today's email. There is religious school on Sunday. My adult Hebrew class is meeting on Sunday at 2. And next week at 6 p.m. we have Tat Shabbat with me at 6, just on Zoom, and then regular in-person and on Zoom services at 7. And we are very excited and hoping to see a nice showing of our kids on the 13th. There will be a Torah reading that morning. All right. That was a lot. Does anyone else have any announcements? No? I sometimes forget things.
Does anyone remember what we said?
Yeah.
We'll repeat it.
Yeah. Has the book been chosen?
Yeah, Book of Hope by Jay Goodall.
Right, you told me. I'm sorry, Carrie. The next book club group, which is a joint venture between COM and TBI, is the Book of Hope by Jane Goodall. And if you have questions, Carrie's your man, and he's here. You should ask him questions. All right, we are going to conclude with Adon Olam. I think that was our agreement. We are on page 625.
Please join me, everybody. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'et Nasa B'chepso Kol Azamelech Shemo Nikra Ve'acharei Kilod HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Hove Ve'hu Yeh Ve'tifara Ve'hu Echad Ve'en Sheni Ve'ham Shelo Lehakbira Ve'li Reshit Ve'li Tachlit Ve'lo Haoz Ve'hamitzra Ve'hu Eli Ve'chai Goali וצוררי בעת צרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנות כוסי ביום אקרא בידו, אף כי רוחי בעת ראשון בעירה, ואם רוחי וגיעתי, אדוני לי ולא אירא. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Buddy,
Shabbat shalom, Hillary.
don't move yet. Rabbi Estrin has a request.
While we are transferring this over to the Zoom, the Oneg Zoom, just for those of us in the room and until it cuts out, if you could just make quick introductions because we don't all know each other. So, starting over here.